Greetings and salutations, YouTubers and malefactors. Back here at Stoplogic Motorsports, and well, instead of racing this weekend, Texas has had quite a bit of rain lately. I might not be premature in saying that we should probably look into getting boats and two of each animal, handy, just in case. But most of the tracks have been flooded out, and I haven't had enough dry time to mow. Every time I have the time to mow, it's 4 inches of rain. Anywho, enough of complaining about Texas' flood problem. And looks like our neighbors across the way are getting a new roof. That's nifty. But anywho, what we're going to talk about today is kind of a dual review. So first off, we got the Scott Prospect WFS goggles and a set of Sport RX glasses inserts, which I need to take these things out to clean them anyway. We're going to start with the goggles here. So, as you guys know, I am blind as a bat. Actually, blinder than a bat. I can't actually even clearly make out the handlebar controls without my glasses. So, as you can imagine, whenever I run low on glasses, things get mighty interesting. Not a lot of goggles fit glasses. These especially did not fit my glasses, so I had to turn to a different solution. So before we go on and on about the goggles themselves, so you see these advertisements for these glasses inserts all over Facebook. You have the Uzis, the Sport RX, I think WF. There's like 3 or 4 of them. I decided to try the Sport RX because I saw pretty good reviews and most of the stuff seemed to be done stateside. So I had luckily, I had kept a good copy of my prescription for my last eye appointment. I sent that over to them, and then I had to measure the distance between my 2 pupils, which there was a facial recognition software that I used kind of to do that. That didn't work great. So then I ended up putting a couple of play school markers on my glasses, like where my pupils would be at, and then measured it with a ruler. So these I got for about $165, and I sprung the extra $50 for the anti-fog coating. And you can see in a couple of videos, and I'll put a few of those clips in there, I have not had these fog yet, and I've been everywhere from muddy, well, most of my races lately have been muddy, but muddy in 30 degrees to muddy in 70 degrees to muddy in 50 degrees, and not once have these things, had an issue with fogging, even when I've been huffing and puffing and blowing my lungs out. So, I mean, $165. The only downside I see with these is that they're a little smaller footprint than my regular glasses, so your peripheral vision's kind of distorted a bit. Maybe not so much distorted, but it doesn't extend as long as a regular pair of glasses. So for your first 5 minutes of riding, it kind of gives you a slight nauseation sensation. Like you all of a sudden the peripherals are going by a lot faster than what you're used to. And it kind of disorients you for a few minutes. But after about 5 minutes, just as natural as wearing glasses. And I'm going to go to the next star of the show, the Scott WFS Prospect goggles. So these ran me about $100 thereabouts on Amazon. And first off, everyone's going to be like, why are you spending $100 on goggles? First off, yeah, I mean, it's got better face material. So one thing you'll notice when your goggles start to get old is if you don't have any sort of covering on the foam, it starts to ball up and get into your eyes. So you have little bits of foam rubber getting into your eyes while you ride. It's not a lot of fun. But what sets these goggles apart from everyone else, other than having roll-offs, is if you notice there's a little bit of like foam in there. And you street guys are about to know what I'm talking about. The dirt guys are going to be like, what the heck? So this is like a miniature pinlock visor. In the street riding world, you have what's called the pinlock visor, for riding in cold or exceedingly wet conditions, and it's kind of like a dual pane window. You have two pieces of polycarbonate plastic, and it's separated by a little bit of foam and a small air barrier, and that normalizes the temperature between the inside and the outside a bit to keep the goggles from fogging. Looks like I got a little bit of rub from my glasses. So these also have not fogged on me once in the same conditions being used with the glasses. So that's kind of the nifty function, is it's a pinlock set of goggles. Plus you have the roll-offs, which with all this mud this year, that's been godsend for being able to see. And so you'll load up with instead of tear-offs where you have like 3 or 4 and then you pretty much shot with regular goggles, these have usually about 65 to 75 pulls, and you can completely clear your plane of vision with these. So with their powers combined, yeah, see, that's where it's been rubbing on the glasses a little bit. You just basically kind of situate these little fellers in there and they pop into place. So it's an elegant solution. No more pain from having headaches from your glasses being smashed into your helmet. You know, the only thing that I kind of miss is when it's hot, I like to ride without goggles, which is probably not the best idea. But I mean, you know, I've done it for ages. So when it's really hot, if I take my goggles off or if I take my helmet and goggles off, I have no way to really see. So that's kind of the one downside to this system. But other than that, I highly recommend it. So yeah, us folks that suffer with glasses, you might be able to get your FSA or HSA to spring for this. They offered to pay for it, but I had a ton of dental work lately, so I had to empty my account on my teeth. But I could have gotten these inserts basically paid for by my FSA. Just one thing to consider if you're a rider that requires glasses. I would give both these products a 5 out of 5, and I would totally buy them again. And when I have the need and necessity to do it again, I will definitely go with this format. Well, anywho, hope you enjoy the content. If you like it, like and subscribe. If you don't, feel free to criticize me harshly. I'll see you guys at the next race.